The discovery. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the Zephyrian patrol fleet as they conducted their routine border sweep along the outer rim of Coalition territory. Admiral Crix Velthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, watching the star charts with the practiced eye of someone who had spent 40 years patrolling these same routes. Nothing ever happened out here. The border had been quiet for 3 centuries, ever since the great human extinction event that had removed the galaxy's most troublesome species from existence. Scanner operative Yilth hunched over her console, her 4 eyes scanning the displays with mechanical precision. The young Zephyrian had joined the fleet only 6 months ago, fresh from the academy and eager to prove herself. Most of her colleagues had grown lazy over the decades of peaceful patrols, but Yilth maintained her vigilance. Her dedication was about to change the course of galactic history. "Admiral," Yilth called out, her voice carrying a note of uncertainty that made Velthan's head turn. "I'm detecting an anomalous energy signature bearing 27 Mark IV. Distance approximately 50,000 kilometers." Velthan's mandibles clicked with mild interest. Anomalies were rare but not unheard of. Usually, they turned out to be asteroids with unusual mineral compositions or debris from ancient battles. Classification. Yilth's tentacles danced across her controls as she tried to make sense of the readings. "Sir, the signature is strange. It's emitting energy patterns I've never seen before. The computer can't identify the source, but the readings suggest something large, very large." The bridge crew began to take notice. Conversations died down as officers turned their attention to the main display screen. Velthan felt a familiar tingle of excitement that he hadn't experienced in years. Finally, something to break the monotony of endless patrols. "Set course for the anomaly," Velthan ordered. "All ships maintain formation. Let's see what we found." The 5-ship patrol fleet adjusted course, their sleek hulls cutting through space toward the mysterious signature. As they approached, the anomaly resolved into something that made the entire bridge fall silent. Floating in the void was a massive vessel, easily twice the size of their largest battlecruiser. Its hull was dark and angular, covered in strange markings that seemed to shift and change when looked at directly. "By the 7 moons," whispered Communications Officer Drex. "What is that thing?" Yilth's readings were going crazy. The ship appeared to be powered down, drifting silently through space, but her sensors detected massive energy reserves contained within its hull. More disturbing were the weapon signatures. The vessel bristled with armaments unlike anything in the Coalition database. "Admiral," Yilth said, her voice now trembling slightly, "the computer has found a partial match in the historical archives. The hull configuration and energy patterns are consistent with human technology." A chill ran through the bridge. Humans had been extinct for 300 years, wiped out by a coalition of 12 species who had grown tired of human expansion and aggression. The final battle had taken place near Earth's solar system, and every human ship had been accounted for and destroyed, or so they had believed. Velthan's confidence began to waver. He had heard the stories from his grandfather, tales of human cunning and their terrifying ability to turn any situation to their advantage. But those were just stories. Humans were gone. They had to be. "Scan for life signs," he ordered. Yilth worked frantically at her console. "Sir, the hull is too heavily shielded. I can't get clear readings, but there are definitely power sources active deep within the ship. It's like it's sleeping." "Open a communication channel," Velthan decided. "If there's anyone aboard that vessel, they need to identify themselves. This is Coalition space." The communication array powered up and sent out standard first contact protocols in 17 different languages. The response was silence. The dark ship continued to drift, showing no signs of acknowledgement. Minutes passed. Then, without warning, the vessel began to change. Lights flickered to life along its hull, revealing intricate details that had been hidden in shadow. The strange markings became clearer now, and Yilth gasped as she recognized them from her academy studies. They were human script, but not the primitive writing she had expected. These symbols were elegant, complex, almost artistic. Deep within the awakening vessel, Captain Alina Reyes opened her eyes for the first time in 3 centuries. The stasis pod hissed open, and she drew her first breath of recycled air, her body automatically adjusting to consciousness. The neural interface in her brain immediately connected with the ship's AI, flooding her mind with information about their current situation. "Status report, ARIA," she whispered, her voice hoarse from the long sleep. The ship's artificial intelligence materialized as a soft blue hologram beside her pod. ARIA had been humanity's greatest technological achievement, an AI so advanced it could think and feel almost like a human being. "Captain, we have been in deep space hibernation for 297 years, 4 months, and 16 days. We are currently surrounded by 5 alien vessels of unknown configuration. They appear to be attempting communication." Alina's eyes hardened as memories flooded back. The last desperate battle, the burning cities of Earth, the screams of her people as they were systematically exterminated by the very species that now surrounded her ship. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might never wake up. Her orders had been simple: wait, watch, and when the time was right, remind the galaxy why they had feared humanity. "Show me," she commanded. The main screen activated, displaying the 5 Zephyrian ships arranged in a defensive formation around her vessel. They were sleek and advanced, clearly the product of centuries of technological development. But Alina could see their weaknesses immediately. Their shields were standard coalition design, their weapons outdated by human standards even from 3 centuries ago. "They're trying to talk to us," ARIA observed. "Shall I respond?" Alina stood slowly, her body aching from the long hibernation. She walked to the command chair and settled into it, feeling the neural connections activate and merge her consciousness with the ship's systems. Suddenly, she could feel every sensor, every weapon, every system, as if they were extensions of her own body. "Not yet," she said quietly. "Let them wonder. Let them worry. They destroyed our world, ARIA. They hunted us across the galaxy until they thought we were extinct. Now it's time they learned what it feels like to be prey." Back on the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Velthun was growing increasingly nervous. The human ship had been powering up for 10 minutes now, and his sensors were detecting energy levels that shouldn't be possible. Whatever technology the humans had developed, it was far beyond anything the Coalition possessed. "Sir," Yilth reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm reading massive weapon charging cycles. That ship has enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet." Velthun felt his blood turn cold. He had made a terrible mistake. This wasn't some derelict vessel they could salvage or study. This was a predator, and they had just woken it up. "All ships withdraw to maximum weapons range," he ordered. "Prepare for possible hostile action." But it was too late. Alina had been studying their formation, analyzing their capabilities, planning her response. 3 centuries of sleep had done nothing to dull her tactical instincts. If anything, the time had given her a clarity of purpose that burned like a star in her chest. "ARIA, target their engines first. I want them alive to carry a message." "Understood, Captain." Weapons online. The human ship moved with impossible grace, its ancient engines propelling it forward at speeds that violated everything the Coalition knew about physics. Energy beams lanced out with surgical precision, striking each Zephyrian vessel exactly where Alina intended. 4 of the 5 ships found themselves crippled, their engines destroyed, their weapons offline. Only the Eternal Dawn remained fully operational, and that was by design. Alina wanted someone to escape, someone to tell the galaxy that humanity had returned. Admiral Velthun watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed around him. The human ship moved like a living thing, anticipating their every move, countering their every strategy. In less than 5 minutes, 4 of his finest vessels had been reduced to floating hulks. "All remaining power to engines," he ordered desperately. "We have to warn the Coalition." As the eternal dawn began its retreat, Alina's voice finally broke the communication silence. It was calm, controlled, but carrying an undertone of absolute menace that made every alien on the bridge shiver. "Admiral Velthon of the Zephyrian Fourth Fleet," she said, somehow knowing his name and rank. "You will carry a message to your coalition. Tell them that Captain Alina Reyes of the human vessel Silent Hunter sends her regards. Tell them that we remember what they did to our world. Tell them that we have been patient, but our patience has limits. Tell them that the hunt has begun." The connection ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Velthon stared at the view screen as the massive human ship began to move away, its destination unknown, but its intent clear. The galaxy was about to remember why they had once feared the name of humanity. As the eternal dawn limped toward Coalition space, carrying its terrible news, Alina stood on her bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were the descendants of those who had murdered her people. They had lived in peace for 3 centuries, believing themselves safe from human vengeance. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. The Reckoning. The emergency session of the Galactic Coalition Council convened within hours of receiving Admiral Velthon's report. The massive chamber on the capital world of Nexus Prime buzzed with panicked conversations in dozens of languages as representatives from 12 species tried to make sense of the impossible news. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Their extinction had been verified, documented, celebrated across the galaxy. High Chancellor Mordeth, a towering figure from the crystalline Nexeri race, called for order with a voice that resonated through the chamber like breaking glass. His faceted features reflected the chamber's lights as he addressed the assembly, but there was no hiding the fear in his multifaceted eyes. "Honored delegates," he began, "we are faced with a crisis that threatens the very foundation of our peaceful galaxy. The report from Admiral Velthon has been verified by our best analysts. A human warship has indeed survived the Great Purge, and it has demonstrated capabilities far beyond anything we previously encountered." Commander Thrix, the sole survivor from Velthon's patrol who had witnessed the attack firsthand, stood at the witness podium. The young Zephyrian's normally blue skin had turned pale gray with trauma, and his 4 arms trembled slightly as he gripped the speaking platform. "Honored Council," Thrix began, his voice cracking with emotion. "I watched this single vessel destroy 4 of our most advanced warships in minutes. It moved like nothing I've ever seen, striking with precision that seemed almost supernatural. The human captain knew our names, our ranks, our fleet composition. It was as if they had been watching us for years." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. The Kralian representative, a massive insectoid creature, clicked his mandibles skeptically. "One ship cannot threaten the combined might of the Coalition. We have thousands of vessels, hundreds of worlds. What can one human ship do against such numbers?" Thrix's eyes filled with a haunting certainty. "You didn't see what I saw. This wasn't just a ship. It was death incarnate, moving through space with purpose and intelligence beyond our understanding. The human captain spoke of patience, of remembering what we did to their world. This isn't random violence. This is calculated vengeance." Meanwhile, light years away from the political chaos, Alina Reyes stood in the Silent Hunter's war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing Coalition fleet movements across the galaxy. Erare's blue form flickered beside her, processing vast amounts of intercepted communications and sensor data. "The Coalition is mobilizing their forces," Eraya reported. 17 battle fleets are converging on our last known position. They're treating us as a single ship threat, but they're taking no chances." Alina smiled grimly as she studied the tactical displays. The Coalition's response was predictable, textbook military doctrine. Overwhelming force applied to a single point. They still fought like bureaucrats and politicians, not warriors. They have forgotten the lessons of the old war, the reasons why their ancestors had needed to unite 12 species just to defeat humanity. "They're making the same mistake they made 3 centuries ago," she observed. "They think this is about ships and weapons. They don't understand that war is about will, about the desire to win at any cost. Alina's mind drifted back to her childhood on Earth, before the Coalition had decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. She remembered green fields and blue skies, her daughter's laughter, her husband's smile. All of it had been taken from her in the name of galactic peace and stability. The Coalition had justified genocide by calling it necessity. ARIA, begin Phase 2 of the operation, she commanded. Target their supply lines, their communication relays, their civilian infrastructure. I want them to feel helpless, the way we felt when they burned our worlds. Over the following weeks, reports poured into Coalition headquarters of systematic attacks across their territory. The Silent Hunter appeared without warning at remote outposts, destroying orbital platforms and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. Communication networks went dark as relay stations were eliminated with surgical precision. Supply convoys vanished in deep space, their wreckage later found drifting in empty systems. What terrified the Coalition leadership most was the intelligence behind the attacks. The human ships seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum psychological impact while avoiding civilian casualties. This wasn't the work of a madman or a terrorist. This was military strategy at its most sophisticated level. High Chancellor Mordeth found himself unable to sleep as reports accumulated on his desk. Each attack was a masterpiece of tactical planning, designed not just to inflict damage, but to send a message. The humans weren't trying to conquer the galaxy. They were trying to break the Coalition's will to fight. How is this possible? He asked his advisors during yet another emergency meeting. One ship cannot coordinate attacks across 17 sectors simultaneously. Admiral Kess, the Coalition's chief military strategist, studied the attack patterns with professional admiration mixed with growing dread. Chancellor, I believe we're not dealing with a single vessel. This Captain Rice has been planning this campaign for centuries. Every strike is perfectly coordinated, perfectly timed. She knows our patrol schedules, our supply routes, our communication protocols. Someone has been watching us for a very long time. The truth was both simpler and more terrifying than they imagined. Alina didn't need multiple ships because the Silent Hunter was designed to be a force multiplier beyond anything the Coalition had ever encountered. Its AI could process information and coordinate attacks across vast distances simultaneously. Its stealth capabilities allowed it to appear anywhere without warning. Its weapons could destroy targets that conventional fleets would need hours to eliminate. But most importantly, Alina herself was a product of humanity's finest military tradition. She had been selected for this mission not just for her tactical brilliance, but for her psychological profile. She was someone who could wage war for centuries without losing sight of her objectives, someone who could remain focused on victory regardless of the cost. The Coalition's breaking point came when Alina struck at the heart of their territory. The orbital defense platforms protecting Nexus Prime, the Coalition capital, simply went dark one morning. No explosions, no battle, no warning. They were there one moment and gone the next, their crews found unconscious but unharmed, their systems completely disabled. High Chancellor Mordeth stood on his balcony overlooking the capital city, staring up at the empty sky where the defense platforms should have been. The message was clear. Alina could have destroyed the entire planet if she had chosen to. Instead, she had demonstrated that nowhere in Coalition space was safe from her reach. She's toying with us, he whispered to Admiral Kess. She could end this war anytime she wants, but she's choosing to let us suffer. Why? The answer came in the form of a system-wide broadcast that overrode every communication channel in Coalition space. Alina's face appeared on screens across thousands of worlds, her expression calm but her eyes burning with centuries of contained fury. People of the Galactic Coalition, she began, her voice carrying across space to reach every living being in their territory. 300 years ago, your ancestors made a choice. They decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist alongside your species. They hunted us across the galaxy, burned our worlds, and slaughtered our children. They told themselves it was necessary for galactic peace. The broadcast continued, showing historical footage of the Great Purge that had been hidden in Coalition archives for centuries. Images of burning human cities, of evacuation ships being destroyed, of civilians being systematically eliminated. The galaxy watched in horror as their sanitized version of history was stripped away to reveal the brutal truth. You have lived in peace for 3 centuries, Elena continued, while we have lived in exile and memory. You have built a civilization on the graves of our people, and you have convinced yourselves that you were the heroes of that story. Today, I offer you a choice that our people were never given. The image shifted to show the silent hunter surrounded by the assembled might of the Coalition fleet. Hundreds of warships had finally cornered the lone human vessel near the edge of Coalition space, their combined firepower enough to sterilize entire worlds.